All right. Thanks for having me here too today. I appreciate this opportunity to give a little bit of the farming's perspective. And my own family history, our family's been in Whatcom County since late 60s. My dad was a Dutch immigrant who came from a small town in Holland, did not have any opportunity for advancement in Holland. There was no land availability, immigrated to the United States. Didn't grow up on a farm, but he immigrated to the United States with a dream of becoming a farmer and was able to accomplish that goal. And this building we're standing in front of, he also had a cheese making hobby that he, this is a picture of our retail shop that we have. This cheese business hobby that he had became a business over time, and has really offered our family an opportunity to be diversified and stabilized us economically, and allowed us to stay in the dairy industry for all these years. And that's a picture of my dad. That's the farm on Northwest Road that we farm at. A lot of these buildings, the main tall building there was built around 1900. A lot of the farm shape has changed now over the years, but when we moved here in 1967, that's pretty much what it looked like. This is a picture of one of our dairy barns. This is where we feed our cows, and the little red machine there is a robot that every 2 hours goes and pushes the feed back up to the cows. Dairying has adapted technologies like every other industry, and in how we manage our cows and how we manage our land, our manure applications, all these things. The dairy industry is very, very much adapting technologies. This is a picture of our parlor, one of our employees milking there. The picture of cheese, that piece of cheese is actually my mom's holding that. We broke that cheese open. My dad has passed away about 18 years ago, and there was one cheese that he had made yet before he quit making cheese, and my brother and I took over the business. And so this cheese was like 15 years old, and my dad had been gone for a number of years. It was my mom's birthday. We broke out this cheese, and it was good for all the grandkids and stuff to kind of feel that family connection. That's kind of a part of who we become. This is some of our employees. The family dynamic of farming has changed in that when I grew up, it was just my brothers and my dad, and every conversation around the dinner table and breakfast table was us, and we had a lot of ownership just growing up on that farm. Our families have essentially gotten bigger. We have a number of employees now that work on the farm or the cheese or the retail, and these people are long-term, and you develop relationships with them, and they kind of become part of what I would call the new face of family farming. This is, I wanted to talk some about, we talk about habitat, and the farmland in Whatcom County is a major habitat for fish and for water quality, and we are also very engaged and have been. And in my lifetime, I don't think there's very few years. I've been dairying with my brother in a partnership for 30 years. Very few of those years was water quality and fish improvements have been part of our just our mindset, I think, growing up when we did, as these things became issues arose with water quality and fish stocks and stuff. I think that this has been part of our makeup. This is not something new, and this is a tide floodgate replacement that's going on. It's just finishing up now. This was to be in the Army Corps program. Their dike program, your floodgates have to be inspected and make sure that they're of quality. And our floodgates, which were put in originally in the 40s, and then upgraded one time in my lifetime in the 70s with my dad, were failing. And so this is a cooperative effort between the county and the NRCS, Natural Resources, and us as farmers participating in doing some other fish-friendly type projects. But these gates are much more fish-friendly. They swing to the side instead of swinging up and down, so there's actually a period of time where fish can travel up and get out of the high water. It's important for small fish to be able to get out of the high water events. So this is one of the projects that we've been involved with, and as I was making notes of some of the things that we've done on our farm, some of the things that we talked about and was even mentioned here before is we've removed about a mile of open ditches, put tile in them, and there might even be a picture of that. This is a farm tour that we recently did in kind of working with Sustainable Connections. And it's a passion of mine to not only share how we treat cows. I mean, that's a big issue. Animal agriculture has multiple things going on. And so we try to educate people on how we take care of our animals and how we take care of the land. This is an area where we buried about a mile worth of open ditches in a field. These ditches were non-fish-bearing streams. They're just drainage ditches. They're vulnerable when you spread manure and apply manure to your fields. There's risk of runoff into open ditches. This was an area where we could replace those with drain tile, and we've done that. And this little pipe sticking out of the ground is an area where the drain tiles come into, so that we do have access to those drain tiles, much like a clean out. If we were ever to have trouble, we could jet those drain tiles. And also, we are putting in, we haven't quite got to that, but we're putting in what was talked about earlier, where we could put a small dam in the last drain tile and potentially do some sub-irrigating in the summertime and be able to hold some of that water back. So that's, I think, kind of an interesting project, and we'll see where that all goes. On our property, we've decommissioned lagoons. Lagoons, my dad was one of the first people in the county to build a lagoon back in the early 70s, mid-70s, I think it was 74. He built one of the very first lagoons. Before that, manure application happened all year long, all winter long. When crops don't need manure to grow, they're not growing in the winter. The idea of lagoons to store our nutrients and use them during the growing season. So he was one of the first ones to build it. These were lagoons that were built in the 70s. They were not built to the current standards that we have today. And in about several years ago, I started thinking about, what could I do for my kids who are showing interest and becoming minor partners in our operation, and my niece as well. What can I do to ensure their success? And one of the things that I felt like was very important is that we would be a farm that was totally comply with all the most recent standards and be the most environmentally sensitive in that way. So we started undertaking projects. We built new lagoons. We've decommissioned some of these old lagoons. We had that floodgate project. We've been planting riparian habitat, flowering native plants for pollinators. We've also, part of that floodgate project was 2 removals of other fish barriers that are farther up the streams, the ditch line up in our property. So I think that, this has just been a part of our farm. And I think my story could be replicated by many farmers that have been doing a lot of projects over the years. And I think some of the most interesting ones that are happening right now in our water improvement districts, there's 6 water improvement districts in Whatcom County, and they're individual watersheds. I'm part of the Laurel Water Improvement District, which takes care of the 10-mile Cougar Creek, Deer Creek, and 4 Mile Creek, that drainage area. But in other areas, other water improvement districts, things that are being worked on, one is stream augmentation. The Mayberry Farm is pumping water out of the ground and augmenting water in the stream, and they're studying that. They got a permit to do that. I think you talked about cold water from the ground being into the stream. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. But I think farmers in general innovative problem solvers. We feel as a farm group that we can accomplish fish returns, and we can do our part, and we're willing to do that and participate in that, and give leadership where needed to as well. Another interesting project that's going on in water quality is a DNA project that we're helping to fund in Scott Ditch. In an isolated area where there's a number of different contributing factors that could be contributing to fecal coliform and coliform bacterial pollution. We need a better understanding of that. I think we are also very frustrated with the water quality situation in Portage Bay, and we're going to be, we're working as hard, I think, as any group to try to remedy that and give leadership to that. We're also involved in water quality testing, as are many groups here today. There's a lot of water quality testing going on in Whatcom County. And we meet with different groups, government groups, private groups, and share our story and try to raise the awareness of water quality, that it's going to be a community solution. It's not going to be done on one group of people or another, but that we can all come together. So I appreciate being here and taking this approach. I think one of the things that was sent to us on in preparing for this is we should be asking, well, why should you care about farming and what we're doing out there? And I would just say that the farmers need everybody here to be supportive of us. We are also a big economic force in the county as far as jobs and income, and the multiplier effect of how that affects so many different businesses and schools and public services. But we also, I think, we want the environmental community, and we are working with the tribes. We want them to embrace the idea that the farmland is good for our environment and that it's a positive and that we can work together and we can solve our problems. Just one comment, was involved in the kind of the forming of the Portage Bay Partnership. And while the Portage Bay Partnership maybe didn't get out of the gate as fast as we would have liked, I do think what you said earlier about a framework, a framework to have discussions. I now know more tribal members than I knew before by a long shot. And I have some relationships, and I think, I believe too, that it's relationships that are going to be able to get to some of the bottom of some of these issues and how we work together as we build our relationships stronger. So I'm thankful that even though we've had our struggles, and I'm thankful that Tim Ballou, Chairman Ballou, took that step and initiated that process to start that partnership, because I think it's given the farmers and the tribe an opportunity to have a framework to where we can come and discuss things, and also have a framework where we can build relationships for the long run. I think when we meet with the tribe, we all want the same things. We want the opportunity to farm, and we want our children to have that same opportunity. They want to be able to fish. They want to be able to pass that on to their children. We all agree that those are great values to have, and we embrace that as well as a farming community. And so I'm encouraged. It seems that there seems to be momentum to trying to come together and solve some of these problems. Thank you.